How great of leaders do you have inside the organization? That usually dictates how people feel about being there, how long they stay there, how productive they are in their jobs, how engaged they are. What's up, Culture Drop? This video is about why professional development of leaders is good for employee experience. This topic was actually inspired by my friend Katie in a conversation, and she was like, why don't companies understand that developing leaders and leaders' continued development is really good for employee experience? And I was like, that's true. I should do a culture drop about that. So whether you are a leader or you are an organization that has leaders, or at some point you will become a leader in your career, so like AKA basically every one of you, it is really, really important to invest in the ongoing continual development of leaders and their skills and their abilities, especially around people skills. As we have all experienced and are all aware of, most people's experience of their job and whether or not they like their job, right, and how they experience the culture inside their organization is directly related to their experience with their manager. How great of leaders do you have inside the organization? That usually dictates how people feel about being there, how long they stay there, how productive they are in their jobs, how engaged they are. Leaders really, really matter. And leaders get up into leadership positions and then we're like, okay, cool, you've made it. And then we just let them figure things out instead of continuing to develop them. We miss out on a huge opportunity. And I think it does detract and make employee experience across the organization lesser if we're not thinking about that. I think when you become a leader in any organization, that part of that like onboarding process, that should immediately trigger some development opportunities. To me, it's like, okay, have all of your leaders read like crucial conversations? Have they read fierce conversations? Do they know how to coach effectively? Do they know how to give and receive feedback effectively? Are they great at conflict management? Do they understand like self-awareness and unconscious bias and like how that impacts decision making? Do they understand how to delegate, how to like set clearer communication and set expectations for employees? If those things are not something you can say across the board on all the things I mentioned that your leaders are an expert at, or if you're a leader that you are not an expert in those things, you have work to do, because all of those things are critical to the success of teams and the success of leaders and ultimately to employee experience. If this is something historically that hasn't been on your radar, here's how to approach it. I would just do an audit, either like from leaders asking for feedback, or you kind of evaluating or looking at collectively your leadership team is like, what are the biggest areas of opportunity that you have to improve? And guess what? It doesn't have to cost $100 billion to do this. You don't have to invest in very expensive training and consultants and all that kind of stuff. You can buy a lot of the books that exist around this, like Crucial Conversations or Fierce Conversations. You can buy them used for like $15 or $20. There are hundreds of hours of free content on YouTube, on internet, online, like 5 to 10 hours. I think you can become almost a master at anything. Navigating conflict, any of the things that I mentioned, like if you just invest the time and research to do it. It doesn't have to be very, very expensive. There's ways you can do this if you have zero budget for training. You can read a book, you can watch videos on YouTube, take 1 month and be like, great, this month I'm gonna become an expert in giving and receiving feedback. Like if that's not something that you're already good at or you feel really skilled at, do you realize that in like over a weekend or a couple weeks, you could become like almost a master at that and get like a lot of tools and skills and understand how to do that well? Like, it's such an easy thing to do to skill up in a lot of these areas. And there's so much free content out there. So that's it. That's what I want to say. I think this is huge for companies, for leaders, to every single person to like continue investing and developing leaders. Okay. Thanks for watching and tuning in. Subscribe to our channel. We put a lot of content on here. You can also subscribe to the Culture Drop mailing list and get these emails in your inbox every Tuesday morning. Follow our social media channels. Put a lot of free content out about just being more awesome and building great teams.